Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and welcome everyone to the Sunday morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading and discussion from the unedited, unchanged books of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And in the Vaishnava tradition, there has been much controversy coming down through time, and most specifically in the period after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. There was a lot of confusion, largely due to the personal ambition of many of his disciples. Yes, this is a fact. And someone who was fully conscious of this and aware was A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. He was aware of this contaminated state of the godbrothers that he had. Yes, unfortunately. And we've discussed this before, that when we went to India in 1970, myself in 1973, for the Mayapur festival, we went on the request of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, so that not only could we appreciate the reality of Mayapur Dham, the transcendental world, and the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as well, we went to Vrindavan. And subsequently, myself and a Prabhu of mine, a good friend of mine at the time, Nandi Keshwar, we started going to Jagannath Puri. Yes, in 74, I think we went, maybe 73. We went for 5 years to Jagannath Puri together. So we would go to Mayapur, we would see Prabhupada and attend all the lectures and be part of the program there. It was so wonderful. It was magical, actually, just to be there and have that experience, especially us degraded Kali Yuga Vaishnavas from the West, to see the reality of Krishna consciousness manifested before us. It wasn't just some kind of concoction. And Prabhupada wanted us to come so that we could become part of that culture that he was teaching us. And so another part of the purpose that he had was that he could demonstrate to his god brothers how this movement was spreading throughout the world to people that they might consider unqualified. Yes, because we weren't born in a family of pious Brahmins. We were all born in, mostly all of us were born in a family of meat eaters. And meat eating is a very low level of birth, to be a meat eater, to eat hamburgers and hot dogs and chicken and beef, and it's so terrible. And nowadays you can see everyone in the Western world is eating this food, this fast food industry. And what's happening is they're accumulating a great deal of karma. Yes, because of sinful activity, the world is suffering so much. Abortions, meat eating, gambling. Gambling has become very prominent throughout the world now. Everyone's trying to make money without work. They're trying to spin the wheel of luck and get their money. So the principles of religiosity are almost destroyed. And as a result of that, there is a collective karma that is there present in society. And it's a very dangerous time. I was just looking at an article, Krishna Gata, in one of the prominent papers, I think it was from New York, and it was saying that in Canada, if there is a nuclear war, this will be one of the worst places to live. Why? Because there is no food supply. And billions of people will die of starvation. This was their prediction. And Prabhupada predicted that someday there could be a nuclear war. It's quite possible. There's never been an army that hasn't used its weapons. So we should be conscious of this collective karma that these karmis are creating to destroy the world. And this will be very unfortunate. Of course, we're prepared, all of us, because we chant our rounds every day. We study the literature from His Divine Grace, and we follow the regulated principles. And we do chant our rounds, yes. Some people don't. Recently, I mentioned I was talking to some God brother. I don't know if he's still a God brother because he's not following. I mean, that's a question. I mean, he sentimentally thinks he still is. Oh, I don't chant my rounds, Prabhu. Oh, you don't? Eh, well, thank you for telling me you don't chant your rounds. It gives me an idea where you're at. So this world is in a troubled state, and we should all be conscious of our discipline, because disciple does mean discipline. Without discipline, you cannot grow your devotional creeper. So anyway, getting back to Śrīla Prabhupāda, he wanted us to come to Mayapur Dham so he could demonstrate to his God brothers that this philosophy of Krishna consciousness was spreading throughout the world. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, this was his prediction to every town and village. And Prabhupada was the ambassador of truth for the human society. He's become. And that's why it's so important, I'll just finish up, to understand the significance of a bona fide spiritual master, not fake gurus, fake Diksha gurus that take that role on the basis of personal ambition. There is no question of that. And that is a mistruth. That is a mistruth. That is a propaganda nonsense that they're perpetrating for their own personal self-aggrandizement. This is reality. Now, someone could say, you are critical of these people. Yes, we are. Why? Because you're misrepresenting the wonderful tradition that Śrīla Prabhupāda has presented to us in his books, in his instructions, in his letters, in his lectures, and you have no idea what you're talking about. I just had a talk. I'll finish up. I just had a short interaction on social media. Remember, social media is a medium. That's all it is. It's not reality in a sense. We don't want to take it too personally, but I was telling this person, you think you know because you went with Sridhar in the Gaudiya Math. You don't know. And you are like many people that are bewildered by this ISKCON contamination, because what happened to him, he became disappointed to see how these Diksha gurus were operating, and he thought, I'll just give it up and I'll go with one of these Gaudiya Math God brothers of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Big mistake. And that's another symptom of the mass confusion that is going on, unfortunately, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition taught by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda in his books. And if you study the books, it's amazing, the revelation. And very few people can understand that. So don't be disappointed, Bhaktijad, if very few people do not understand this principle, just like very few people can understand who Krishna is. Also, very few people understand the bona fide representative of Krishna, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Very few. It's a rare soul, actually. And we want to thank everyone for joining us. I know all of you are very serious and sincere about this process. And that's why you take the time to join us in this Zoom class, because we're presenting the philosophy for the benefit of many people in future generations who are seeking the truth without adulteration. And you know, truth is what everybody wants. Huh? Everybody wants the truth, but everybody can't get the truth because somehow or other, they don't have the capacity to grasp this. They don't. Krishna Katha. That's why when you go to the San Diego temple, you see this guy go up and pick one of the photos off the deity room closet. Some guru, we have no idea who he is. They're offering the food to this guy, and then on it goes. It's all bogus. It's complete, man. And then he's playing his own guru's bhajan or kirtan. It's a hoax. It's a fraud. It's an unfortunate reality. And we must expose it for the benefit of ourselves and everyone else. So let's move forward. We'll go back to the readings of the Jaladuta Diary, the original messages from Śrīla Prabhupāda on his journey on this wonderful boat to America. In 1965, and don't forget this, please, how austere, how surrendered, how determined Śrīla Prabhupāda was in his journey to deliver Krishna consciousness to the world, not like these current people that pretend, posture, and pose. This is nonsense. So we're going to read, Prabhupada had his first sponsorship. Very interesting. I'm also into sponsorship. Not anymore, but I've had many, many sponsors for my music festivals. And he managed to get a sponsorship from the Scindia Steamship Company. He had one of the members of the organization print a pamphlet for him. So it was a barter sponsorship. So he was getting a sponsorship to print this publication, and within it, he was also promoting the Scindia Steamship Company. So that way he could get it passed and they could get this printed. So the chanting in this pamphlet, we just read the Sikshastakam section. I'll read the 8th chant or verse from Lord Chaitanya. I do not know anyone except Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain such, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or he may make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything, but he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Chanting of the holy name of God is recommended for everyone, both for the mass of people and the class of people. Those who are scholars, philosophers, scientists, religionists, and educated may read the English version of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami with particular attention to the purports appended with each and every verse. Yes, these purports are so valuable for the disciple. They have appreciated the publication as follows. At a time when not only the people of India, but those of the West need the chastening quality of love and truth in a corrupting atmosphere of hate and hypocrisy, a work like this will have uplifting and corrective influence. What is God? He is truth. He is love. Even an atheist must accept the supremacy of those qualities and how much they are needed by the people of the world who have been taught to deny God. And these qualities do not require much emphasis. The author has attempted a tremendous task. A pursuer will give us in the sample measure a knowledge of the original. The essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the exposition of the absolute truth, and we would recommend this book. The editor's vast and deep study of the subject and critical insight are reflected in these notes, and we have no doubt that with the publication of these volumes, the rightful interpretations of the Bhagavatam, which has been the gift of Sri Chaitanya and his Goswami followers, has now been available to the English knowing world for the first time. So extremely valuable information for us, everyone, especially now that we've been studying for so many years. We can put this in context. And if you haven't been studying, then get on the horse and start studying and learn this philosophy so you can truly appreciate it for yourself, your family, your friends, and everyone you meet. We have no doubt that this publication of these volumes, the rightful interpretations of the Bhagavatam, which had been a gift of Sri Chaitanya, has now been available to the English-knowing world for the first time. The elaborate method is very helpful to the ardent student of Bhagavatam who lack in Sanskrit knowledge. True. It is admitted in all hands that Bhagavatam is the most difficult text amongst the Puranas. The author richly deserves the gratitude of the devotees for his pious, learned labor of love. These volumes speak very highly of Swamiji's scholarship and especially of his love of cultural pursuits when we look into the enormous labor and sacrifice in producing them single-handed. And that too at a ripe old age of 68. Ripe old age of 68. That's most of us here, some of us anyway. We earnestly pray to the Almighty that He may spare Swamiji for all the years He may require to finish the magnum opus of 60 volumes and earn the love and gratitude of His fellow men in the pursuit of divine love and grace, nay, of the entire humanity. You have done a first-class work, and you deserve the hearty recommendations of every Indian, every Hindu. Your deep and penetrating study of the subject and your philosophical insight are reflected in this book, etc., etc. So very interesting. I wonder if this is the whole thing, Prabhu. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I'm not sure. But at least it's giving us an idea. You know, everybody At this other group, they can't stop changing and editing everything. So maybe someday we'll find out for a fact. And here we're going to look at reflections, recollections by Śrīla Prabhupāda on his journey to America. So this is going to be the next section we'll undertake on Wednesday. We'll start reading, and I'm going to just flip over here. Here's a beautiful picture of Prabhupada. And the caption is, Śrīla Prabhupada often related experiences of his journey to America to interested friends and disciples. Prabhupada had me explain to Krishna Das Babaji in his room in Mayapur back in 1977. He invited me to his room. It was a wonderful, merciful experience. And I sat with him for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and explained to him how we purchased the Toronto temple. He wanted to know. And he explained it subsequently with Krishna Das Babaji, who also sat in the room with us. So I would speak, he would translate into Bengali and convey the information to Krishna Das Babaji. And in this way, he would enjoy explaining the preaching work of the devotees, of his disciples in his mission of spreading Krishna consciousness globally. The following excerpts from Śrīla Prabhupāda's room conversations and lectures give further insights into his voyage to America and the incidents surrounding it. These selections have been obtained from the computer database, The Complete Works of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So lots of information for us. We're going to move forward, and we'll read this next on Wednesday. So make sure you come out and continue this educational process of association with devotees who are focused on the pastimes of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava by Śrīla Prabhupāda, and then the reading and discussion with His Grace, the magnificent Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Brahmachari Yamuna Tira Brahmachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Muspa Paramahansa Parivrajaga-Acārya Sattvaresvara Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Saraswati Goswami Prabhupāda ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Nāma-Acārya Śrī Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadeva Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giridhar ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai की जाए जमुना माई की जाए गुरु द्वारका धाम की जाए स्वामी तो भक्तविंद की जाए और ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ और ग्लोरी टू देयर समझ थैंक यू वेरी मच
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Devim Saraswatim Vyāsam Tato Jayam Mudirayat Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As we do every week, we read a few selected verses from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam itself in Canto 1, Chapter 2, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1 to 17. Shrinvatam svakataha Krishnaha Punyashravana kirtanaha Hridyantasto hyabadrani Vidunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text 18. Nashtaprayeshu vabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevayam bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Text 19. Tadarajastamo bhava kamalo bhadayaschaye chete teranaviddam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankerings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed up in a mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataham Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarvasamshayaha chiyante chasya karmani drishtaevatmanishwari. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated, along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. Thanks everybody for participating in this reading and discussion on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. As you know, we are reading from the original 1962 New Delhi edition of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam with all synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Today we will be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number 24. Te mai arpita akela chapale arbake Dante adrita kridanake anuvartini chakruhu kripam yadyapi tulya darshinaha shushroshamane munayo alpabhashini. Te de mai unto me apeta having not undergone akile all kinds of chapale proclivities, arbake unto a boy, Dante having controlled the senses, adrita kridanake without being accustomed to sporting habits, anuvartini obedient, chakru did bestow, kripam causeless mercy, yadyapi although, tulya darshana impartial by nature, shushrushamane unto the faithful, munayo the muni followers of the Vedanta, alpabhashini one who does not speak more than requirement. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy, although they are impartial by nature. So far I was concerned, I was sense-controlled without any attachment for sporting habits, even though I was only a boy. And besides that, I was not naughty, neither I used to speak more than requirement. Purport by His Divine Grace. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that all the Vedas are searching after me. Lord Sri Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matters are only three: namely to establish the relation of the living entities with the personality of Godhead, perform their relative duties in devotional service, and thus to achieve the ultimate goal, back to Godhead. As such, Vedanta Vedi, or the followers of the Vedanta, means pure devotee of the personality of Godhead. Such Vedanta Vedi, or the Bhaktivedantas, are impartial in the matter of distributing the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. To them, nobody is enemy or friend. Nobody is enemy or friend. Hold on, where are we at? Nobody is educated or non-educated. Nobody is especially favorable and nobody is unfavorable. The Bhaktivedantas see to the people in general as wasting time in the matter of false sensuous things, and thus their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to the sense of reestablishing the lost relation with the personality of Godhead. By such Bhaktivedanta's endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life, and thus, being initiated by them, the people in general become gradually progressive on the path of transcendental realization. So the Vedanta Vedis initiated the boy even before he becomes self-control and was detached from childish, sporting, etc. But before the initiation of favor by them upon the poor boy, the boy, became more and more advanced in the matter of discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. In the system of Varnashram Dharma, which is the beginning of actual human life, small boys after 5 years of age are sent to the Guru's ashram to become brahmachari, where these things were systematically taught to the boys, maybe a king's son or the son of an ordinary citizen. The training was compulsory not only to create good citizens of the state, but also for the matter of preparing the boy's future life for spiritual realization. Irresponsible life of sense enjoyment by childish proclivities were unknown to the children of the followers of the Varnashram system. Even the boy was injected with spiritual acumen before he was placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's life as successful for being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning, is to beget children for complete perfection. Without being self-controlled, without being disciplinary, and without being full obedient, nobody can become successful in catching up the instruction of the spiritual master, and without being so able, nobody is able to go back to Godhead. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshatah Adadana-strinam danteridam yachi punah punah Śrīmad-Rūpa-padam bhoja dhulisyam janma janmani amsho bhagavatosmyaham sadadaso asmi sarvata tatkripa pikshako nityam tatprishta satkaromi svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This verse from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam describes the position of Nārada Muni when he was young in a previous birth, and how he became liberated. This is a mention that he was in the ashram of some saintly persons. Prabhupada mentions in the text about those Bhaktivedantas. The Bhaktivedantas see to the people in general as wasting time in the matter of false sense of things, and thus their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to the sense of reestablishing the lost relation with the personality of Godhead. By such Bhaktivedanta's endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life, and thus being initiated by them, the people in general become gradually progressive on the path of transcendental realization. So this is a very important point. Those Vaishnavas, self-realized, liberated Paramamsa Vaishnavas, these Bhaktivedantas, gave shelter to the boy. It says the Vedanta Vedis initiated the boy even before he becomes self-control and was detached from childish sporting, etc. But before the initiation of favor by them upon the poor boy, he, the boy, became more and more advanced in the matter of discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. Which brings up to the point, how did Śrīla Prabhupada introduce Krishna consciousness when he came to America? There is one conversation where Śrīla Prabhupada described that in the beginning, all he did was cook and give prasadam. Prabhupada said they did not care so much for the chanting, but they wanted the prasadam. So by his kindness, by his mercy, he was cooking, and he was showing his disciples how to cook. So what happened is basically by the purifying influence of his divine grace, gradually people, by taking prasadam, by hearing the kirtan, gradually many devotees and disciples came. And this is the same process that was given here by the Bhaktivedantas to Nārada Muni. Now, this is a very important point, because we see at the end of this purport, Prabhupada explains, without being self-controlled, without being disciplinary, and without being full obedient, nobody can become successful in catching up the instruction of the spiritual master. And without being so able, nobody is able to go back to Godhead. Now, the point is here, very important, that there are different conditions enable to catching up or understand the instruction of the spiritual master. Because the question comes up, why is it that so many persons, despite so much personal, physical, I love that word, living association with Prabhupada, they didn't seem to quite understand his instruction? They manufactured so many concoctions, introduced so many deviations, introduced so many principles and practices which were not in line with the instructions and orders of His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. So why is that? This is the explanation right here. Without being self-control, without, number two, without being disciplinary, and without being fully obedient. Somebody may say, well, they were following the principles, they were chanting their round. Yes, but were you obedient to the instruction and orders of Śrīla Prabhupada? That is the question that remains to be answered. Now, going back to the purport, in the first paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada explained, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that all the Vedas are searching after me. Lord Sri Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matters are only three, namely to establish the relation of the living entities with the personality of Godhead, perform the relative duties in devotional service, and thus to achieve the ultimate goal back to Godhead. It's important to note that Śrīla Prabhupada quotes from the Bhagavad Gita from chapter 15, text 15. We will read a section here because this is a very important text. Krishna explains, Vedescha sarver ahamiva vidyaha, Vedanta krid vidavideva chaham. By all the Vedas am I to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of all the Vedas. Prabhupada explains in the purport, the Vedas give the right direction to the people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation of Vyāsadeva is the compiler. Very nice. Beautiful. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation as Vyāsadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyāsadeva in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activity, the giver of knowledge in the form of Vedas, and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good. God is all merciful. Now, there's some very important point here because there's some misunderstanding by some classes of philosophers who sometimes claim that the purpose of the Vedas is simply to discuss Brahman. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a text. Let me get the text here, which is very important to discuss. It says, this is from Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 131. Adi Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 7, text 131. In all the Vedic sutras and literatures, it is Lord Krishna who is to be understood, but the followers of Shankaracharya have covered up the real meaning of the Vedas with indirect explanations. It is said, Vede Ramayane Chaiva, Purani Bharati Tata, Adavantacha Madhyecha, Arihi Sarvatra Giyate. In the Vedic literature, including the Ramayana, Puranas, and Mahabharata, from the very beginning, Ado, to the end, Antecha, as well as within the middle, Madhyecha, only Hari, the Supreme Personality of God, it is explained. Very important. In another text, text 143, 144, it is explained, Artoyam Brahmasutranam Bharatartha Vinirnayaha Gayatri Bhasharupasau Vedartha Paribrimhitaha Purananam Samarupaha Sakshat Bhagavato Ditaha Dvadasa Skanda Yuktoyam Shata Vicheda Samyutaha Granto Ashtadasha Sahasrasa Śrīmad-Bhāgavata Abhidaha. This means the meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This, what we're reading, is from Madhya Lila, chapter 25, text 143. Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 25, text 143. The meaning of the Vedanta Sutra is present in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The full purport of the Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of the Brahma Gayatri is also there, and fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the supreme Purana, and it was compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyāsadeva. There are 12 cantos, 335 chapters, and 18,000 verses. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. This is a quotation from the Garuda Purana. So this is very important to understand the importance of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We've often discussed as part of these classes here how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to be very fond of saying Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam pramanamamalam, that the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the highest evidence, the highest literature. Now, there are many Vedic literatures, different Puranas, different Upanishads, the four Vedas. There's a wide body of Vedic literatures, and these literatures have been given by Devveda Vyasa at the beginning of Kali Yuga to guide human society. But of all these literatures, the topmost literature compared, called the mature fruit of Vedic wisdom, is the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or the Bhagavata Purana. And this is the very great contribution of Śrīla Prabhupāda, that he was able to come to this country with great difficulty and present the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, translate the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in such a way that ordinary persons, without much Vedic training, without much Brahminical training, could understand the message and chant Hare Krishna and gradually purify their lives. Why are we discussing this like this? Because this is very important. After Śrīla Prabhupada departed in 1977, a very insidious philosophy was introduced that now that Prabhupada is dead, it is no longer practical to accepting him as the guru. This is a nonsensical, offensive, blasphemous idea. And that idea was the reason why so many problems occurred in Śrīla Prabhupada's society and are still occurring in Prabhupada's society. In order to go back to Godhead, one has to connect with a bona fide, self-realized, fully liberated, authorized guru or spiritual master. Show bottle guru will not do. Opportunistic gurus will not do. Self-appointed gurus will not do. Voted in, elected gurus will not do. One has to be properly authorized by following the instruction of Śrīla Prabhupada. Some people may say, well, many of these people are still following the instruction. No, they're not. The first thing they did is dismantle Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. Dismantle the sanctity of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is like our Bible, very important text, spoken by God himself, spoken by Lord Krishna himself on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. No disciple has the authority to change the words of his divine grace. Prabhupada spoke like that so many different times. Last night, a very nice friend of mine in Asia, I'm not going to give his name, he was a Prabhupada disciple who did very valuable service for His Divine Grace, and he's preaching. And the issue of book changes, of why the Bhagavad Gita was changed after Śrīla Prabhupada's departure in 1977. Why was the book changed? The issue came up, different questions were posed to him. Many persons inquired from him. So he asked me to send him a few different files and articles. I sent him about 55 or 60 of them to basically give him some material for discussion. The point that I'm trying to say here, there's plenty of material from Śrīla Prabhupada and his bona fide disciples to discuss issues. Let me give you an example. Let's say a detective apprehends a suspect, what they call in law a person of interest. What do? They start questioning him, and sometimes the person will say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you. I want my lawyer present." Okay, you can get your lawyer, but the questions still remain. You may have your attorney that you want to help you with, but the questions are still going to come. And in complex cases, the questions are many. And detectives will not be satisfied with evasive answers, with a person telling them, "Do you know who I am? I am the CEO, or I'm the vice president of such and such company." Well, that's really good. But they still have questions for you. And they're not going to stop asking you those questions until they get some proper answers. One way or the other, they're going to get answers. Experienced detectives will get answers one way or the other. Nowadays, they search phone records, they'll search computer records, they'll search so many different records to find out if what you're saying is the truth. Nowadays, we have the advantage of the internet to check what people are saying. "Oh, you say you were appointed as Prabhupada's successor." Well, that's a very nice claim. Let's see what Prabhupada says. "You claim you were authorized to change the Bhagavad Gita." Really? Well, Prabhupada says different. There's so many references Prabhupada said don't change. There are two references where Prabhupada said to change. Cattle raising should be changed to cow protection. In the knower of the self in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajna, there's a reference in a conversation. Prabhupada said that should be corrected. And some people claim that the planet of the trees, okay, Prabhupada never made an issue of that. The point is, Prabhupada gave specific direction of what was allowed to be changed. But then comes the self-appointed speculators who claim that they really know what Prabhupada wanted. They really understood his intentions. They really understood what he really wanted. Oh, really? Prabhupada wanted 5,000 changes in his Bhagavad Gita? Where did you get that impression? We'll leave it at that for now. Again, I want to point out Krishna Katha Prabhu in San Diego with the beautiful pictures of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. I don't want anybody to get discouraged. We are still working on getting these books printed. There has been some difficulty in India, again, with members of these self-appointed book changers who started litigation against KBI and other entities. This has delayed things a little bit, but we are progressing with getting different alternative providers, and we will inform you gradually when this is completed. Thank you very much for your participation. We hope everything is well and you're well situated at Prabhupada's lotus feet and Krishna's instruction. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Haribol, glories to
Hare
Prabhupada.
Jai.
Now, further, there's a lot of insight here for us in terms of how to uncover the mystery of spiritual life. Because the fact of the matter is, we're all lost in the ocean of material suffering. And how to get out of this state of repeated birth and death is a mystery for the conditioned soul. So Prabhupada, in the purport on today's verse, text 24, in the middle of the purport, Prabhupada explains, the Bhaktivedantas see to the people in general as wasting time in the matter of false, sensuous things, and thus their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to the sense of reestablishing the lost relationship with the personality of Godhead. By such Bhaktivedanta's endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life, and thus being initiated by them, the people in general become gradually progressive on the path of transcendental realization. So this is our business as the servants of the spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, because human life is meant for self-realization. And human life these days is animal life. It's not human life, it's animal life, because the business of the animal is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So the spiritual master provides the information to understand the mystery of human life. We're going to go back to the purport in text 23, which I believe explains the essence of this philosophy in terms of all of the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And therefore, it's just down in the below, about 4 sentences down in the purport of text 23 of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The living entities are marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they're meant for being properly utilized in the transcendental service of the Lord. When it is not so done, it is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is once dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted into the service of the Lord, instead of in the matter of sense enjoyment. Okay. From the personal example of Sri Narada Muni in his previous verse, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. And remember, this was written, everyone, pre-1965 ISKCON. So Prabhupada's explaining it from his own personal realization based on his relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. The Lord says that the servants of his servants is more than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose out a bona fide servant of the Lord, constantly engaged in his service, and accept such servant as the spiritual master and engage himself in the spiritual master's service. Such spiritual master, and here it's critical here to hear this without confusion, accept the servant as the spiritual master and engage himself in the spiritual master's service. Such spiritual master is the transparent medium to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. By service of the bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion of service rendered. All of them as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as the respective service in relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Bona fide. Not elected, not self-appointed, not manufactured by some concoction, by a group of members of a board who say they should elect someone to become Diksha Guru. The expert spiritual master knows the art of how to utilize everything in the matter of glorifying the Lord, and therefore under his guidance, that's Śrīla Prabhupāda's guidance for everyone, in his Vani incarnation, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of the Lord's servant. This is the key to the mystery of spiritual life in this particular part of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. There is no compromise here. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further comment.
Some very important points, because there seems to be some misunderstanding that in order to teach spiritual life, one needs some kind of institutional permission, that one should not preach without some institutional permission or vote. Prabhupada has never discussed this idea. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described Jai Krishna Tattva Se Guru Hai, he never said Jai Appointment Tattva, Jai Zonal Tattva, Jai Politics Tattva. None of that was discussed. Prabhupada gave his instruction to all of his disciples, including all the women. But by suppression, repression, oppression, politics, nonsensical backroom dealings, some individuals took control of the society and introduced so many nonsense ideas. The foremost nonsense idea is this bogus idea that the Acharya is dead and gone. This is very dangerous, insidious, blasphemous propaganda. Just nonsense. Everybody is familiar. We read this book, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Prabhupada says in the beginning, he lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. Somebody recently sent me an email and asked me, who is this person behind you there? There seems to be some effulgence and some cow. Who is that? He's a Vaishnavacharya in our line, in the Madhva line. He's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. His name was Raghavendra Swami. He was a powerful Acharya who specialized in debating and defeating Mayavadis. It's just above my head, below Śrīla Prabhupada, there's that picture. You can't see it very well. Let me see here if I can adjust it. Let me see here. Okay, well, can't see it because of the light reflection. Anyway, this Raghavendra Swami, very interesting story. He lived after the time of Lord Chaitanya in the 1600s. And what happened at the time of his departure or removal from the world, he told his disciples to put him into a samadhi. They called it a Brindavana, where he was going to remain for 700 years alive to bless Vaishnava devotees. Now, this is well known in the Madhva Sampradaya. There's also another person named Vishnu Tirtha. Vishnu Tirtha was the brother of Madhvacharya. We don't have a picture of him here. What happened with him is that Vishnu Tirtha was blessed with a very, very long duration of life. He has all of Madhvacharya's teachings on copper plates. And when Kali Yuga becomes too much and the teachings almost lost, he will come out of his cave. He's in a cave in the Subramanya Mountains. It says that he will live there for 30,000 years. Now, one may believe or not believe any of that. But the fact is, those who are Vaishnava devotees, they accept that great Vaishnava-acharyas do not die. Bhaktivedanta Thakur has warned us, he reasons ill who tell that Vaishnavas die. But now we have a philosophy that deprecates and insults Śrīla Prabhupada. This was introduced by one of the masterminds of the post-1977 self-appointed Acharya disaster, who once said in the GBC meeting in Vrindavan, now that Prabhupada is dead, it's no longer practical to accept them as a guru. It's not accepting reality. Such offensive nonsense should not be accepted by any intelligent person. Prabhupada speaks different. Bhaktivedanta Thakur speaks different. As a matter of fact, there is a lecture Prabhupada gave in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1975, on the appearance day of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where he said directly, it is not that he is dead and gone, that is not spiritual understanding. So for those who are still stuck in the bodily conception of life, in the political conception of life with their vote and so-called appointments, they would do well to acquaint themselves a little bit more with many of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. We'll leave it at that for now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Haribo. You know, we've been talking about senior devotees, so-called senior devotees by age or by initiation. But at the same time, real senior devotee means someone who is accepting the understanding and practice of Prabhupada as a living guru for all of us. That time and space are not part of this transcendental discipline that we practice. It is a yoga practice that we perform. And yoga means to link with God, Satchit Ananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. This is the principle of this yoga system, not sitting in yogic postures, breathing techniques, simply studying philosophy and scholarship, but it means service to the spiritual master, as we've been reading and studying here. And I wanted to thank Rupesh Prabhu, Rupesh Chawan. If you look at the chat today that's going on during the class, there's so many references to Shastra and Scripture. This is very important because this is not opinion, these are facts, and these are coming from Bhakta Rupesh. And we really appreciate his effort. Thank you, Bhakta. That is senior devotee. We have our friend, we have a few people on the call today, Bhakta Ran Singh, Bhakta Jad, Krishna Katha, like that. I'm going to go to our panel of devotees, starting with Bhakta Ran Singh, and we're going to ask him to share his realizations on the subject matters that have been discussed this morning. Bhakta Ran Singh.
Yes, Prabhus. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu, this Krishna Consciousness movement as set up by Śrīla Prabhupada is very simple. At the same time, we must know what Prabhupada has written in the books and how he wanted the movement to continue. So I think this type of understanding, like a personal understanding of how Prabhupada wanted his books to be, the original books, not to change the books, and how the temples are to be set up and run for the future. So if you study the history of ISKCON, well, actually, someone just called me last night. He was in New York. He said, I went to New Vrindavan and I was very displeased with the setup there. So I'm like, yeah, there's a whole group of people who have been hoodwinked. into this changed ISKCON, and it's a big mess. It's tangled so much that it's very inconceivable to even figure out what Prabhupada had wanted. But at the same time, if people take a step back and try to see it with some help of the senior devotees, they can make sense out of the whole mess. So I've been personally very fortunate to be connected with all the devotees here, especially the senior devotees who participated, from 66 all the way to 1970, then temple presidents. So we should take this opportunity to dedicate our lives to Srila Prabhupada, the real teachings, and how Prabhupada wanted things to continue. So that's just my little comment. Thank you, Prabhus.
Thank you, Bhaktarama Chandra Bhaktaran Singh. And it's interesting to note, everyone, that recently there was an incident in Sacramento. Oh, yes. Where Ram Singh went to the temple to protest the changed books, to protest against the manufactured Diksha Guru system. And guess what happened? One of the so-called senior devotees there beat him because he was dissenting. Dissension is not the way you deal in an organization with dissenters. That's not the way you do it. You have to engage in logical discussion and dialogue. But these people were frustrated because they don't have answers. They do not have answers. They have opinion, not fact. And that is the difference. We're presenting this philosophy based on fact, not on opinion. Like today, that reading from Bhagavatam wasn't mental speculation. It was a repetition of the philosophy given by Śrīla Prabhupāda to us to provide a proper understanding of how to become servant of the servant of Krishna. Because realization comes about through practical service. It doesn't come about in any other way. And it also comes about by the mercy of Krishna. Do not act in such a way that you want to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. That was Prabhupada teaching us a simple principle, everyone, of how to make advancement, because advancement in Krishna consciousness is self-realization. It comes from within oneself. Chaita Guru. How do you become spiritually aware? By the mercy of Krishna. How does Krishna recognize you? By the service that you render to your Guru. Not that at one moment you're Prabhupada's devotee and the next moment you become a member of the Gaudiya Math and you start to study Sridhar Swami or Narayan Swami or some other Swami, like some of our God brothers and God sisters have done. This is an offense against their spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Yes, this is not what you do. Sure, we can become discouraged by people, but don't give up the ship. And Krishna is with us, and he will guide us to the source. I wanted to ask Bhakta Jad in
I'll
France.
call you back.
Is he still with us?
I have to. I'm on a class.
Yeah, Krishna Kata, if you could shut your mic off. Bhakta Jad, maybe you could share some insights.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my good obeisances always to Prabhupada. Very enlivening class by Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. Very enlivening comments. And concerning the book change issues, about this Bhagavad Gita, when people, they come and bring this argument, don't change, don't change. Just think about one very small thing. Which version did Jayananda Prabhu got between his hands? And he went back to Godhead. So I will choose to read from this Bhagavad Gita, because one person got back to Godhead from reading it. The other versions, I have no proof. So that's one thing concerning the original Bhagavad Gita, and I think it stops everything. Finish. I read the Gita from Jayananda Prabhu. And service to the spiritual master means to do what he likes. Śrīla Prabhupada often says that there is many kinds of servants. There is one servant, you ask him something, he does another thing. He is third class. And then you have the servant, you ask him something, and he does it. He's second class. But the first class servant, he doesn't need the master to ask. He already knows what the master wants. And this service attitude does not depend of the so-called living body. Just like Prabhupada said, it's not that he's dead and gone, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. So in the same way, we can still serve Prabhupada, even better now, because now we have all the instructions directly on the internet, all the letters, all the books. We are even more fortunate, we can say. And we can cultivate the mood of separation, because familiarity breeds contempt. So our relationship now is based on service and in separation. And actually, it's pretty good to have thought like this. I'm such a rascal, I couldn't meet Prabhupada. Like this, we cultivate, this desire to one day see him. And if we want to see him, we have to please him first by service, by doing what he wants, by publishing, printing, distributing his original books, reading his books, rising up early in the morning, 4 regulative principles, 16 rounds. And we feel that Prabhupada is alive. Otherwise, how we continue this process if there is no benefit or no higher taste? So this is some points I wanted to share. Haribo.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to let everyone know in the group that Bhaktijad does go out on Sankirtan. That's his passion, to serve Prabhupada by distributing original books. And at the same time, he made a very interesting point that I wanted to refer to, that he said, better now than before. And I have to say, by personal experience, being blessed with the opportunity to attend maybe 175 of Prabhupada's classes on multiple occasions, that nowadays, even myself, I have a better opportunity to hear what he is saying by listening carefully as I go back in time and refer to his lectures and make notes and study and continue to understand what he is trying to teach us. And I think everyone in this group is also appreciating the benediction of this opportunity to study Śrīla Prabhupada in sound and not be lamenting, oh, I didn't meet Śrīla Prabhupada. Like you said, Prabhu, familiarity does breed contempt. And this was shown by a lot of people in the past who were closely associated with Prabhupada, and in the same breath, they were moving around and complaining and fault-finding our Guru, even while he was personally present on the earth. And how can you understand this philosophy when you have this particular type of offensive attitude? Offensive. And we talked about that yesterday, the third offense in chanting the holy name, which is to minimize the order of the spiritual master. Bhaktijad, you have your hand again, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one small story which happened in Sankirtan like 2 years ago. I was in Paris distributing books, and I meet a quite old man. And I approach him with a Bhagavad Gita, and he tells me, oh, I have met your spiritual master in Canada 40 years ago, and he touched my head. He said me this. He's called Prabhupada, but he told me then, but I wasted my life not following him. He told me like this. So I said, okay, it's a good realization. Now it comes back to you 40 years later. And he took a book, he gave a nice donation. And the point I want to do is, even though he had personal contact with Prabhupada, he didn't follow anything. So he wasted his life. But even we didn't meet him and we follow, this is real association, not physical, but by following the instruction. Haribo.
Beautiful, very beautiful story. Thank you very much. Yes, this yoga is the yoga of sound, transcendental sound. And this is on the eternal platform. And those people who dive deep into it can appreciate it. I know that Nilesh came a little late missed the class, but at the same time he has a comment. Nilesh Shama, maybe you could say what you feel now.
Hare Krishna. No, I just want to say what Bhakta Jad just talked about. It's
Yes.
very interesting. Is because remember, we talk senior devotees in ISKCON. It's called senior devotees are those who had physical association with Śrīla Prabhupāda. You see, that is what is being projected. Why go anywhere else? It is a very nice example which Bhakta Jat just shared with us about this gentleman. But look at Bhagavad Gita itself. How many people listened to the Bhagavad Gita live? 3 people. 3 people listened to the Bhagavad Gita simultaneously. One was Arjuna, obviously, because he
Yes.
was the one who was addressed. Second, Sanjaya. Sanjaya. And third person was Dhritarashtra. All these 3 people heard the message of the Bhagavad Gita at the same time from the same person live. Okay? What was the result of this physical association with Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita with Arjuna, with Sanjaya, and with Dhritarashtra? What effect did it make? Just because you had a physical association, that does not mean that you have the realization and the surrender and you took the message as you said, you know. And as you very correctly said, Vishwakarma Prabhu, that you heard those lectures live, but you relish them more today. Why? If I were to ask you that question, why do you relish them more today than what you did then? Is because your purificatory process is better now to assimilate those same lectures in much more detail than what you were at that particular time. You see? So we are all evolving as we follow Śrīla Prabhupada. You see? Some of us will, because of our prarabdha karma, we are so polluted that we need more time to purify ourselves to understand the same message. So Dhritarashtra did not understand the message. Not only he did not understand the message, but he had great animosity towards Bhima, who had killed his favorite son Duryodhana. So after the end of the Mahabharata war, even after listening to the message of the Bhagavad Gita from Krishna through Sanjaya, he wanted to kill Bhima. He still had that vengeance in him. So we need to compare ourselves. Is that who are we among these 3 people? Are we Arjuna? Are we Sanjaya? Or are we Dhritarashtra? And Sanjaya's realization is very obvious, as we read in chapter 18 also, that he declares that whenever we will see Arjuna and Krishna, victory will always be on that side. So physical association has nothing to do with it. It is the Vani, it is the instructions, how much we follow. Sanjaya understood those instructions and he followed it accordingly, and he showed the same ecstatic symptoms as we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where his hair was standing on end. And he is repeatedly enjoying this discussion. So we need to take that also into consideration about Śrīla Prabhupada and move towards his instructions more than his physical presence. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, this is Bhakti Yoga. The understanding of how to make advancement in spiritual life through the practice of Bhakti Yoga. And just before we turn this the platform back to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu for his final comments, I wanted to mention, Prabhus, that Prabhupada would tell us, just sacrifice one lifetime in this service of Krishna and the spiritual master, and in just one lifetime. And I can remember back when I was 27 years old, I thought, gee, that's a long time. Well, guess what? Now I'm 77 in September, and the lifetime has passed. Is it a long time? No, it went like that. Life passes us by, everyone. This is the nature of the material world. And we have to realize that one life is nothing in terms of eternal life. It is zero. And it passes by like that. So if you can give your life, your body, your mind, your soul, everything to the service of the spiritual master, as we have discussed today, to the service of Prabhupada's mission, then your life, our lives, will be truly successful. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, final words from our great devotee friend.
Well, our great devotee friend is Śrīla Prabhupada. I'm just trying to be a servant. Some devotee recently told me, oh, you're a senior devotee. I said, no. The real understanding is that I am an aspiring devotee. The more you study this philosophy, the more we understand the greatness of great acharyas like Madhavendra Puri, Śrīla Prabhupada, all these great acharyas, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Jiva Goswami, all these associates of Lord Chaitanya. Recently had an experience where somebody, somewhere right at the front door of the house, I had to go outside, and the front door of the house, there's a metal door. It closed up and it wouldn't open, and I had no keys. And unfortunately, the spouse, who was not feeling well, was not waking up. So I went to the back of the house, got a ladder, got on the deck, and I realized it doesn't matter how much I was knocking on the glass door, it was not happening. So I went I had a trunk where I had some old writings of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. One of the books was Kalyana Kalpataru, that had been translated by one of Śrīla Prabhupada's disciples. And I said, okay, well, if I'm here and I can't get in, the door is not getting open anytime soon, let me just read this book. And it's a book that's about an inch thick. It's a complete translation of the book with word and word, and it is some amazing, absolutely amazing realizations from Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Now, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is considered the empowered Acharya who revived the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in our Sampradaya. So it is a very, very important book in the sense that he is describing the whole process of bhakti, the entire process of bhakti from beginning to end, and he's expressing himself what a conditioned soul goes through in the material world. And when you read this book, it is so vivid. It is such a direct, vivid expression and realization of what the conditioned souls in this world go through. And this is very important because then we can appreciate the difference between ourselves, our lowly selves, and the exalted position of these great liberated souls like Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Because it's very easy for a conditioned soul to try to speculate and concoct ideas. Why did this liberated soul did this? Why did Prabhupada do this? Why did Prabhupada do that? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a very nice verse, Vaishnava Kriya Nabhujaya, that the activity, Mudra Nabhujaya, that the activities of a pure Vaishnava cannot be understood even by the most intelligent person. Even the highest intellectual will not be able to understand. This can only be understood by revelation and mercy. It's like you mentioned earlier, by service. And this brings me to a point, and I thank Nilesh Prabhu very much for his realization and insights. I really look forward to his insights and realization at the end of our classes. Very, very nice, Prabhu. And thanks, Bhakti Jad, also for your realization. Just recently, I was looking at a compilation I did for some devotees in Japan. There's a very nice devotee there. And he wanted a presentation to some Japanese devotees, a few of them. So I did a little bit of research and compiled many statements of Śrīla Prabhupada on this Atma Tattva, the science of the soul. How many times is Prabhupada talking how the soul, we're not the body, we are spirit soul, we are entangled in the modes of material nature, we're entangled in this material. There are so many different angles and so many things. But the question comes up, why is it that some people don't get it? Some people don't understand. So today, just as I was preparing for the class, I started to look at this chapter 15, text 15, where Krishna explains, I'm the compiler of Vedanta. Then I looked a few pages earlier. I said, oh, this is very important. In chapter 15, text number 9, it is explained, the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, tongue, and nose, and a sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Then Prabhupada continues in appropriate. In other words, if the living entity adulterates its consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, oh, thank you, Venkat Prabhu Rupesh, thank you. In other words, if the living entity adulterates its consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life, he gets a cat or dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure like water. But if you mix water with a certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, for the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. When, therefore, one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he, in his pure life, but if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in his next life, he gets a corresponding body. And then the next text is very important. Text number 10, Prabhupada says, the foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spells of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this, and there's a beautiful purport. And Prabhupada says in the next text, the endeavoring transcendentalist who is situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to do so. So there is no guarantee that just because one tries to understand spiritual life or the spiritual world, that one will automatically understand it. Prabhupada explains why. There are so many reasons why these things happen. So I recommend everybody to really make a careful reading and study of this. And thanks everybody for participating. We are still making progress with Krishna Katha Prabhu, Vishwakarma Prabhu, and some other devotees, trying to get additional quotes, despite the fact there's been some hindrance from some motivated individuals in India with frivolous and vexatious lawsuits against KBI and other entities, but ultimately that will be resolved. But we encourage everybody to keep coming to the classes, keep coming and participating. We see Vijay Pandit Prabhu in Italy with Chaturbhuja, his good wife, Gopika, and everybody there. We thank you very much for participating. We soon will have the Kirtan. In the end of the program, we ask that you come again on Wednesday for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita reading at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 8 p.m. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada time and Florida time. And thanks everybody for participating. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you very much. Bhakti Yoga is the practice of devotional service which can reveal the mystery of human life through the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Let's move forward and listen to Prabhupada chant with his bongo drum, and we'll have the ending of the program. Please stay on for right to the end. You won't be disappointed.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desired trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Again, thanks everybody for participating. Thanks Vijay Pandit Prabhu in Italy, Chaturbhuja Prabhu, Mataji, Gopika Mataji, everybody. Come va, come va. Molto bene. Molto bene. Very good. Thanks everybody again. We hope to see you again on Wednesday. Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.